Now say this out loud as you're driving around in your car.
Join Sports Skillet.
This what it feels like.
So how do you like it?
So what is it? I'm curious.
You like it like this?
My God, do we love football.
Or like this?
I love the sport of baseball.
And what about this?
You can have a sports show without all the vicious talk.
Simple human decency.
Whatever it is that you like.
Yeah, I like chaos.
We've got it covered.
Right?
It's sports the way you like it.
My friends, you may not know this. It's got everything you want.
Here we go. Local and national sports talk that's fresh, in season, and FDA approved. If it's hot, you'll find it cooking with Jeff, Jay, and Kelly. They don't just stir the pot, they add more flavor than the other guys. Get ready to dig in and taste some Sports Skillet.
Tastes good.
Right now.
And welcome to our Friday afternoon live stream for the Sports Skillet radio show. I am Jay, and I'm joined in the CSB Cherry Hill studios by Jeff Scott.
Good morning, Jay.
Good morning, Jeff. And as always, we begin our show with Ken Moskowitz. Ken, how are you doing today?
How we doing, Jay? How we doing?
We are doing excellent. We got Jeff in the studio here with us as well.
Yes, how are you, Jeff?
I'm doing great, Ken. How's everything with you today?
I'm doing good.
Excellent.
Thankfully, the rains have stopped, so it's that's always a good thing. So.
Well, not in my case. Because the fact that we got some rains means that my deck being finished behind my house has to wait until Monday. So
no, I wouldn't say it's some rain either.
Yes, now I remember. Oh my gosh, yeah. I'm so sorry, Jay.
So I have to put off, the finishing of my deck until Monday. Having a party over my house, which kind of complicates things on Sunday, but c'est la vie, that's what happens. We go on with life.
Yep.
But first, at the beginning, can you tell everybody how they can get in contact with you?
Absolutely. On Facebook at Ken Moskowitz, Crossing Guard Ken, and on Twitter, both Twitter and Instagram, Guy Warren Spotter Ken.
Awesome. So now, Ken, which way do you want to start out? Do you want to start out with the Phillies, or do you want to start out with our Eagles, having played a game last night?
Yeah, let's start with the Eagles first, and then get to the wonderful Phillies.
Okay, starting out with the Eagles, I think their backup quarterback situation has been resolved. One quarterback looked good, the other quarterback did not. What did you take away from the game last night?
I did see a few quick highlights. Life as we know it had to go on. So, but I'll tell you, McCowan. In his first three attempts, obviously, he didn't fare out, and he even admitted it himself too. Despite being 40 years old or 41, he called it like a 79 Chevy Nova, I believe it was, or a Chevy Impala. That you kept trying to start the motor and trying to hit the gas pedal so many times, but you're afraid you're going to flood the car. So and he knew where he knew what was what. So he a little rusty, but otherwise I'll tell you. And then once he got going, and once that Chevy Nova of his got going, he didn't look all that bad.
No, not at all. However, just the opposite we can say for Cody Kessler. I think he's done as a member of the Philadelphia Eagles. I said on the show last week that I kind of foresaw Kessler being released or traded, and last night he was absolute garbage in the game. I mean, he didn't do himself any favors whatsoever, held on to the ball way too long, looked absolutely dreadful. So I think, if the Eagles can get anything for him, I don't care if it's a 7th round pick or a 6th round pick, anything for him.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I definitely agree with that. You know, I mean, and also too, I mean, look, you know, we've seen it already. You know, injury prone too. So I mean,
yep.
You know, it was, you know, in my opinion, it was nice to have him. You know, I know we still have him yet, you know, as part of the camp, but for how much longer? I think it's going to end up being a real short-lived stay.
Yeah, and Clayton Thorson, who the Eagles drafted, again, it looks like he's going to may have to be on the final 53-man roster. I think the Eagles were hoping to get him to the practice squad, but now, who knows? Maybe he has to be put on the 53 for the Eagles to retain him.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I'm not sure as to how the progression state is, and I tried to research it all over as far as how Sutfeld's doing, and I'm not able to see any results yet.
Well,
but from what, yeah, go ahead.
He's going to be out for the first couple of weeks of the season.
Yeah, well, no, that I do know.
Yeah.
That I do know. My curiosity was how the rehab is going right now too, because I mean, look, you know what? If he's ahead of schedule, you never know. I mean, he could very well. I mean, I could see that you know the end results could it stay the same, that he'll be out for the first couple of weeks of the regular season. But if his progression, rehab progression is ahead of schedule, I mean, look, you never know. You know, I mean, and of course, you know, like I keep saying all the time too, with modern technology and medicine out there. I mean, hey, you know, the world's sky high in which you can get healthy in practically no time flat. So I mean, and thankfully, this was a broken wrist that happened on his, I believe it was his non-throwing hand, which, you know.
Yeah, left arm.
You know, having a broken wrist is bad enough. Thankfully, I never had that happen to me. But, you know, but in this case, you know, on the flip side of it, it's a good thing that it didn't happen on his throwing hand, too. So, but, you know, again, if his rehab, that's my curious thought. If his rehab is going not only very well but ahead of schedule, you never. I mean, you know, again, you never know, and I mean, he might perhaps come back, you know, right after the first week or right after the first 2 weeks start. So, but but otherwise, I would have to say yes. He's, you know, they're going to stick and stay with the way their timetable is that they predicted. I think I'd like to say it was 4, maybe the first 4 weeks. I think it was.
Yeah, 3 or 4 weeks. I think. Yep.
You know, but never count out the you know the niceties of the modern medicine and technology to, you know, that are able to, you know, progress. So
and
you know, so I think I had that little inkling that, you know, it might be going well and ahead of schedule for Sutfeld. Maybe we might see him sooner.
Well,
but otherwise I do think, yeah, they'll stick and stay with their timetable. Yeah. So you know, so to answer to echo your thought there, Jay, as far as Thorson. Yeah, they're probably going to have no choice but to stick him on the 53. So,
well, I just think that in order to keep him, it's not necessarily that he's going to play, and neither is Nate Sudfeld now. I mean, Nate Sudfeld is going to be their number 3 if he's even around. You know, the question is, can they get Thorson onto the practice squad? I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I think if he's out there and the Eagles release him, I think some team is going to put in a claim for him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no doubt.
You know,
no doubt.
One guy who really looked good to me, has looked good all training camp, has been J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. He's looked tremendous to me.
Yes, JJ, my man, yes. Oh, yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, and you know, the way Doug mentioned, I certainly agree with Doug too. Red zone time, this is your guy. This is your guy, no doubt.
Yep.
I mean, in my opinion, no doubt.
Oh,
I think you know, I think that those red zone conversions that we've sort of struggled with a little bit last year. There's no doubt it's improved this year.
Oh, no.
No doubt.
Without question. I love it. And the flexibility, too. One thing, Ray Dinger, I don't know if you caught this or not, one of the things Ray Dinger said that's going to be really key about this Eagles upcoming season is the fact that they are going to be employing a lot of 2 tight end sets. And that's really interesting because a lot of the teams set up their defenses for 3 wide receiver sets, which is a different look from the offense. And the Eagles, by employing the 2 tight end sets with Goddard and Zach Ertz, are going to throw this different offense at teams that they're not prepared for, that they're not set up for, and that's going to help propel the Eagles to some success this season.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't catch that, but I'll tell you, I love that. I love that thought process and idea. I mean, but also too, and let's not forget, okay. And I know I said this. I believe I did say this to you off air previous, but a couple weeks ago. But at the end of this too, because with the left tackle from Jacksonville, I forget what his name is. That speaking of Kessler, who took Kessler down in a matter of a heartbeat. I mean, I'm hoping and praying that that they continue to work with the offense on as far as both your first, second, and your third lines, as far as playing defensive ball as well on that offensive line, because you cannot. I mean, the more protection that you have from your quarterback, the better. I mean.
Yep.
It's a must. It's a must. I mean, I do like that idea that you've mentioned, but but also too, we got to look at it too from a standpoint of this offensive line. For as good as it looks on paper, okay, they have to really play the role of a little defense as well too, because you cannot let those tackles get in the way. You let them get in the way and away from you, whether it's Jason Kelsey or Jason Peters or Andre Diller. I mean, look, you know what? Your quarterback is unfortunately going to get creamed in no time flat, and that will not be what may not be a good thing. So we need that protection big time. But I do believe in my heart that we have a nice offensive line that can get that job done as well. So,
yep, and got to switch over and talk a little Phillies with you. Still a frustrating team. They swept 2 games in Boston against the Red Sox, but Ken, I got to tell you, I'm not buying in. I'm still frustrated by the team. I still think they're going to finish out of the playoffs behind the Mets, and I'm going to be yelling at them all season for being absolute and utter garbage.
I'm going to tell you right now. I totally agree with you, but I'm going to tell you right now. And I took another look this morning at both their remaining schedule and the Mets' remaining schedule. I didn't see the Nationals, but I didn't even bother looking at the Braves because, I mean, the Braves, I think, had the division already wrapped.
No doubt about it.
Less.
Yep.
But I mean, look, the Mets, out of anybody in baseball, have the best stretch that's left. Phillies, on the other hand, as far as the overall stretch, there's only, as of 37, there's only 15 games that we have at home. I'm already going to tell you it's not. I don't think it's looking good at all. I mean, I for as much as I've loved and followed this team for 39 plus years, I mean, like, it's nice that we got the 2 wins in Boston. There's no doubt on the road, but I'll tell you, they have to, and there's no excuses whatsoever. All right, in order for you to start to meet the Mets. I believe it's coming another 7 days. I'd like to say. There's no doubt this weekend it's a must, no-brainer. You sweep the Marlins, no excuses. Then Pittsburgh comes to town. Okay, you go back home for Pittsburgh. There's no excuses whatsoever as well with that. You sweep their rears as well.
Exactly.
You have to. And I know I've said you consistently need to be focused and not even worry about sweep, take 2 or 3. But I will say this though. All right, enough's enough with my speech with that. There's no excuses now with this. I mean,
totally agree.
When you really look at it, okay, I think the first flub up that you make, major flub up with one of these either mediocre or less than mediocre teams, I can tell you right now, I think they're gonna they could be games away from quite a few games away from being eliminated on paper. But I'm going to tell you right now, flub ups with these mediocre to less than mediocre teams, I think they're done as well. I mean, they have no room for error whatsoever. None.
We've seen it. Seen it. Yep.
I mean, 15 games at home for the Phillies as opposed to 24 home games for the Mets. I mean, and let's not forget who the Mets managed to sweep. Cleveland.
Yep.
At Citi Field. So, and I believe it was two games in which they've come back and won. So, I mean, those home games, yeah.
And the Mets have the pitching.
Those home games are important, obviously, but for the Phillies, the focus is the Phillies right now, and between the other remaining, what are we talking? 22 games, the remaining 22 games that are on the road alone, okay, are going to be really high stakes. And again, no room for error with this. I mean, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it, and there's no rhyme or reason whatsoever. No excuses. You got to win these games.
Yep.
Mightily important.
Yep. Absolutely. And I couldn't agree with you more. And the Phillies gave themselves no room for error, losing games earlier in the season. They put themselves into this predicament, and I don't think they can dig themselves out of it. I haven't seen any heart, any passion. It comes for a game or two, and then it's gone. And the Phillies have only themselves to blame for putting themselves in this situation. And let me tell you, me personally, unless I get past the wild card round, this season is absolute and utter garbage. You look at what the owner went out and did, recruiting and signing Bryce Harper. You look at what the GM did, signing a couple all-stars before the season, putting together a team which should on paper be competitive, and Kapler, and it got to a point where Kapler could not inspire this team, and they had to bring back Charlie freaking Manuel. Are you kidding me, Gabe Kapler? This is what it's come to. And unless this team gets past the wild card round, I don't want them to get into the playoffs. That to me is garbage. I don't want them to. I don't want them to just win in the wild card round. Go in, win the wild card round, and then be competitive against the Dodgers when you play them in the first round of the playoffs. Other than that, garbage. Losing season, no excuses whatsoever with this team, with the talent that this team has on it.
Well, remember, Jay, anything on paper never looks good in real life.
Yeah, probably.
This is proof right there. You know?
Yep.
Proof right, yeah. I mean, look, I was talking to someone too outside in regards to, this team, and you had then of course you had like the '83 team. All right, I was speaking in regards to the '83 team. Now, I wish I had the records between Pat Corrales and Paul Owens, but mind you, I was mere 10 years old, so I really didn't know, stats. Yeah. There were a few here and there that, but I didn't study them the way I would now. But my guess is to say Pat Corrales, who, of course, we all know what the Wheeze kids were about and whatnot and yada, yada. But my guess is sort of in a way somewhat parallel, okay? You had Pat Corrales, who somebody was telling me, I believe they started out not bad. They sort of slipped to the point where I think they might have been a few games above 500, but it was enough where, and Jay, correct me if I'm wrong on this, and do so. Please do so. But I'm guessing that more or less they either were on what probably might have been a bit of a losing streak, maybe. I don't know. But they weren't far off the chart, though, off the division lead, I believe. But Pat Corrales, I think, might have not had been aggressive enough with that ball club then. Therefore, hence they, fired Corrales, brought in Owens, and Owens, what seemed to be, in my guess, lit a fire under their rears big time. No matter what, even if there were close to 40, some of those guys at the time. Yep. I mean, they did Paul did what he had to do to light them up, and he took charge. And lo and behold, what they do, they ended up going back to the World Series. They managed to win the division, go back to the playoffs. Do what they had to do to beat the Dodgers and the NLCS. Then at least make it back to the World Series. That was the goal right there. But the difference is with Paul Owens, obviously he lit the fire under their rears, unlike Pat Corrales. Fast forward 2018, 2019. You had Gabe Kapler, who just, and the way you put it, Jay, is very, very exact. Laissez-faire attitude.
Exactly.
You got this country club mentality. There's no excuse whatsoever for a manager to have such a way about it.
Exactly. I just, I'll see it for like a game. I'll see it for like 2 games where, okay, they come out, they're fired up, they're energetic. And then, a game or 2 later or the next series, boom, they fall apart again. Like I said, I look at the Mets. They have strong pitching. You look at what Syndergaard did. I mean, forget about it. I haven't seen them win 5 games in a row all season, and until they do something like that, until they put a winning streak together like that, I'm out. I said it before. I put it out on Facebook when they hired Charlie Manuel. I was sitting in the stands and I was watching the game, and yes, Bryce Harper hit that wondrous monster home run. But throughout the game, I was like, you know what? Joe Mallet is sitting back. He's laughing, kicking his feet up because the results are still the same.
Still the same. Yeah. Yeah.
Still the same as when he was there. But
oh, yeah.
But like I said, I'm hopeful. But I'm still going to root for them. I'm still going to cheer for the team. But I can't put a lot of faith in them. And I still think, and I'm holding fast to this, that they are going to finish behind the New York Mets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you, I think it's the Mets are up by a half a game. I'd say easily give them another 2 games, and if they're at least 2.5 games up on the Phillies, I can tell you right now, that maybe alone might do the trick right there. I could forget about what I mentioned earlier in regards to, there's no room for error. I mean, that right there, because the Mets have just enough offense that and of course, with Syndergaard pitching not all that bad last night as well. I mean, look, let's just put it this way. Right now, unless Gabe Kapler can really get going here and really pull a Paul Owens,
I don't see him doing it. I don't see him doing it. I just don't see him doing it.
I'm not.
No, I would be shocked. I would be floored. I would be amazed. If he was able to do something like that. I've seen him for just about 2 years now, and both years this team is cratered, and he hasn't been able to pull them out of their losing.
Right.
Yeah. I can't even. I just don't see that happening.
I don't either.
But Ken, for another week, we loved having you on the live stream. Once again, can you tell people how they can find you on your social media account?
Absolutely. Facebook, Crossing Guard, parentheses. Yeah, okay.
Little tongue-tied.
Yes. Crossing Guard Ken on Facebook, in parentheses, Ken Moskowitz on Facebook, in parentheses, Crossing Guard Ken. And on Twitter and Instagram, Skywarn Spotter Ken.
All right, Ken. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you again next Friday afternoon.
One quick thing, if I could just get it in there, real quick. Let's all, send our best thoughts, wishes, and condolences and prayers to family and all of the family and all the friends of a legend, in my opinion, another legend that we did lose the last several days, Jack Whittaker.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Bar none, a wordsmith. Tell me who's out there today that's got that can compare to Jack Whittaker. I mean, really. A wordsmith in itself. I mean, it's just, he managed to. I mean, look, if I grew up way back before he made national, I would have loved to seen him on Channel 10 locally.
Yep.
I mean, from what I understand, he was bar none the best.
Absolutely.
And, I know. I watched him. Call the. Some of the big golf tournaments and for CBS.
Yep.
And then later on with ABC, but
definitely a legend, Ken.
A wordsmith that we lost.
Yep.
Yes.
Thoughts, prayers, and condolences go out to his family and friends. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right, Ken, we will talk to you again next Friday afternoon.
All righty. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Okay, have a great weekend.
Take care.
You too.
All right, and of course, that was Ken Moskowitz. We're going to take a brief time out right now, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little fantasy football with Balto, a new website that Sports Skillet has aligned himself with. So stay tuned for that.
Have you ever fantasized about playing against a football great? Do you think you have the skills to beat a Hall of Fame quarterback? Well, Sports Skillet is offering a unique opportunity for you. Go up against the legendary Joe Montana. Enter by joining our Pick'em League. Follow us on the Sports Skillet Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and we will send you the link to battle the former 49ers quarterback and receive $1,000 if you come out on top. Remember to tune into the Sports Skillet live stream every Friday afternoon and every Sunday on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey. And check us out on sportsskilletradio.com. Download our app and take us on the go.
You're listening to the Sports Skillet Radio Show, cooking up all the hot takes. Jump in and join us at 609-919-9200. Download our app at sportsskilletradio.com. Find us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube by searching for Sports Skillet. And remember to show us some love. Like, follow, and share.
Hey, and we are back here on the Sports Skillet live stream every Friday afternoon, and I'm thrilled to bring on to the show Spencer Cassidy from Balto. Spencer, how you doing this Friday afternoon?
I'm doing good. Morning over here, but man, I need you as my hype man to wake me up. That would be a perfect alarm clock for me in the morning.
I would love to do that. Maybe I can record something for you.
That'd be perfect. I'll throw that on my phone, and that's how I want to wake up from here on out.
I love that we're partnering with you guys this year for the NFL season. For those who don't know, can you give everybody, our listeners out there, a brief description about how Balto started and the history of Balto?
Yeah, absolutely. So just in a nutshell, Balto is a social sports betting. It's social sports betting all without the notion of the house. So think of your office pool games that range from March Madness to NFL Survivor pools to PGA Pick'ems. What we're doing here is we're capturing that market of 40 million people that play these office pool games. And in the future, we'll offer a fully integrated set of sports betting capabilities that range from season-long bets to single-game bets, all without that notion of the house, as I called out. When we started was about less than a year ago, back in January. Both Nick, Joel, and I, my two other co-founders, we'd always been running sports, office pools for sporting events. With the laws that opened up, we thought, hey, all these sites right now are outdated, kind of janky. Why don't we do this? And with our tech backgrounds, with our sports backgrounds, we set out, we started doing it. We started getting a ton of traction. We had investors come to us. We had some notable household names that wanted to help promote and endorse us. And it really took off from there. And this is what's led to this NFL season partnering with folks like you, to promote, sponsor, talk about, and even play with your fans in these NFL Survivor pools and pick'ems.
Now, are you guys, here's a question that kind of came up. Are you guys ever going to integrate into Balto a fantasy football league?
That's something that we've taken into consideration and looked at. Right now, what we see as a bigger market opportunity is the social betting. And what I mean by social betting, that's peer-to-peer. And, if you rewind all the way back to our childhood, peer-to-peer betting or social betting has always happened. It could be as far as, hey, Jay, hey, Jeff, hey, Kelly, I can skip a rock further than you. I might say, I bet you I can skip it further. So we want to kind of embellish on those behaviors that have started from, your younger years all the way forward. And we find that there's a bigger opportunity and a lack there of focus in the betting world on this peer-to-peer style. So all these games where you have your office pools, you have your in-game, side bets going on with friends, that market's untapped and hasn't been refined, whereas fantasy football, there's tons of companies out there that have done a great job, and we don't want to intersect into that market yet until we think that we've done the best job in that office pool space and that social betting space.
I love it. That is awesome. So you're taking it kind of slow and steady at the moment.
We're taking it pretty aggressive on the social betting side, but always slow and steady in terms of we're making sure that we're building the right tools and features.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Yep, that's exactly what I meant. Because I find your site really slick, really easy to go into and understand.
That's great. One of the key things here that we did was we made sure we had a ton of focus groups. We brought on all these different pool managers as well as all these different types of players and users to make sure that we were building it in the most smooth, user-first way. To be quite honest, I actually even had my mom test out the site. She's in her 60s. She loves sports, but I figured, hey, if my mom, who's in her 60s, can navigate around, create a pool, and play in these games, I think it should be pretty easy for others to do so as well. Love my mom to death. Hopefully she's not listening right now, and I'm bagging her on the tech side, but again, we held these focus groups with various different groups to make sure that our site worked smoothly and was effective for anybody that came on to play.
And for people to join one of the fantasy leagues, they go to playbalto.com, correct?
That's right. So you would go to playbalto.com, and what you can do is you can set up your own league. So you can have your own survivor pool, you could have your own pick'em league, or you could play in one of the ones that's public and open. I know you know this, and we've been talking about it since, I would say, since June. But Joe Montana, he's running his own pick'em contest that he invited fans into. And Jerry Rice actually just 2 days ago called him out and said he's joining him. So now it's the Joe versus Jerry NFL Pick'em contest. Any fan can join.
Get
pick
out.
5 teams that you think are going to win each week. And at the end of the season, whoever has the most points, so you get 1 point per win or 1 point per correct pick, we'll get $1,000. And there's some other neat prizes that Joe and Jerry will be giving out.
So basically, you don't necessarily have to be Joe or Jerry. It's just finishing ahead of everybody else in the league.
That's right. Yeah. So finish first in that league, and you'll be the person who takes home the nice prize. Cool. It's nice to compete against Joe and Jerry, though, too. They played the game. A lot of people think they know it best. So let's see if they could actually pick the right teams, being retired for as long as they have.
So we got both Joe Montana and Jerry Rice aboard. That, I'm telling you,
this is getting better and better.
Exactly. Every time I talk to you, it's like Balto is getting bigger and more aggressive and more exciting. Absolutely.
Yeah, it is. It's exciting times over here. Obviously Nick, Joel, and I have some good connections with folks who played the game, whether that's college or in the pros. We've had some other exciting folks, too, that have been talking about us, hyping us up, Pat McAfee being one. He was giving us call-outs on Heartland Radio and on the Pat McAfee Show just a few weeks ago. So it's always great to hear that brand validation and people spreading the word. But what's even more fun is when those guys are on the platform competing with their fans. It really fuels that engagement that happens with sports and just watching sports in general.
So I know we have limited time here, but let me just throw out some fantasy questions for you real quick, if I could.
I'm so ready for this. I literally did I helped my oldest brother with his draft all yesterday. I think I spent an hour on the phone, so throw me anything you want.
Okay, top quarterbacks that you would look to draft for this upcoming season.
I love looking at dual threat quarterbacks, and what I mean by that is they can run in for a touchdown as well as pass. So Baker Mayfield, given he stays healthy, given that he has that heat that he brought at the end of last season that almost got him Rookie of the Year, I think he's top notch. He's got so many threats around him. So I got Baker Mayfield, and one that a lot of people don't give enough love to is Phillip Rivers. I mean, look at his last 2 years, his stat lines. He's over 4,000 in pass yards. He's usually right around 30 touchdowns, and he makes minimal errors. He's always about 9 or 10 interceptions on the season. So can't go wrong with him. Can't go wrong with Baker Mayfield. And quite frankly, my other one is Drew Brees. He's just always my old reliable.
I'm going to switch it up here. How about a defense? Any defenses that you're looking at?
I love the Rams. I love the Bears. I think they have, Aaron. You got Aaron Donald on the Rams. You can't go wrong there. And they got some great secondary. The Bears, you got Khalil Mack, and you got a very good young secondary. And just all around good team. I think one that's going to be up and coming. It's not going to be this season that you want to pick, but they're quite young. Is the Giants? Believe it or not, I think they've been doing a good job of rebuilding their defense, but I wouldn't take them this year. I would lean on the Rams and the Bears. You also got to look for teams that, the defense isn't going to be on the field that much because the offense is controlling the ball. So anywhere that you have a good offense, even if the defense is, decent, you're going to get points because there's going to be less opportunity for the other team to score.
Very true. And how about running backs?
Oof, running backs. Alvin Kamara, again, you want to look at dual threat guys. If they can catch and run, you're in great shape. So Alvin Kamara and Barkley, those are my two go-to guys. But some late round must scoops, Kareem Hunt. He's coming back week 8. Nick Chubb is going to be banged up, having to run the ball and take the front load for the first 8 weeks. And there's no way that they're not going to work Kareem Hunt into the offense. So he's going to be a solid late pickup in the draft. And Golden Tate, I've seen a lot of drafts overlook Golden Tate. Grab him. That's the exact type of receiver that Eli loves throwing to. And, he's known to have the most yards after catch. He's known to be a big receiving guy in terms of just number of catches per game. So I would get him. He's a tough wide receiver. Kareem Hunt, late round for a running back. And if you can, get Barkley and Kamara in the early picks by all means.
Awesome stuff. I know you got to run. So once again, I'll let you just have the floor and just talk about Balto.
Yeah, well, again, I'm super appreciative that you guys have joined us this season. Would love to see you and your fans join Play Balto for the NFL season. We got the NFL Survivor pools and Pick'em pools all running. Again, you can set up your own league, whether it's private or public. Just come on to playbalto.com. We're more than happy to show you how to manage it. We've literally taken all the pain that you've had on all the other sites, the headaches that it's caused in terms of managing buy-ins, tracking payment, customizing your game to tee the way that you like. We've done it all. We've put it all on our platform. You can get set up and started running and managing your own pool in less than 60 seconds. And if you want to even less than that, join one of our open leagues like the Joe Montana versus Jerry Rice, pick 'em pool and win $1,000 there.
That is awesome. Hey, we'd love to have you on the show again and talk more fantasy football with you.
Hey, anytime. I'm more than happy to. Love you guys' show. Love what you guys are doing. And again, super appreciative of you being one of those loyal power users on Balto. Can't wait to see more of your fans on there too.
Absolutely. We're doing what we can for you guys. Absolutely. Because it's a fun game. I mean, it's really slick looking, and it gives you a ton of information as well, too.
Yeah, and here's one other caveat. Any pool manager, so anybody who's creating a pool, you set it up, and let's say you get 100 people and 100 players in your pool, we're giving you $100 and $1 per user after that. And for anybody who's already created a pool and you're at, let's say 3 or 4 people you haven't finished inviting, we're giving everybody $20 if you can get to 10 players in your pool. So we're really giving back. Thanks for making the switch over to Balto. So we're encouraging managers by all means, whether that's from a monetary thank you or even we've been writing out handwritten thank yous to people because we love seeing you come onto our platform. We love doing the work for you and making this game great and fun for you to play, because we know the whole importance is you getting to do what you love to do most, and that's playing these games.
Absolutely. And like I said, I encourage people to go in and create their pool or join our pool and especially join the Joe Montana versus Jerry Rice pool. I love your game. It's really slick looking, really easy to use. You give people a ton of information at their fingertips. It's really awesome.
I love it. I'll tell Joe and Jerry you said that too.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Well, I will chat with you guys. Like I said, I'd love to be back on here and talk sports with you.
Okay, anytime. I loved having you on.
All right, have an awesome one.
Okay, you too.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And I love talking Balto. It's a great game. It's really, like I said, it's really slick, really engaging to the audience. It has, when you make your pick, you have the helmets up there and everything of each team that you're choosing. You see how many people, what the results are, how many people have chosen that particular team for that particular week. I mean, so that helps you make your decision on what teams you're choosing. They're giving money away. I mean, come on.
Who doesn't want that, right?
I mean, you create your pool. You get 100 people in your pool. You get $100 and then additional money after. I mean, come on. It doesn't get better than that. It really doesn't. Like I said, it's a great site. That's why Sports Skillet is partnering with them.
Exactly.
We don't put out garbage on Sports Skillet. We go top notch when we bring in a partner and everything like that. We make sure it's right for our audience and everything, and it looks good. And these guys have their game together, know what they're doing. Really fun guys, really fun game, and I encourage.
And you get to play against Joe Montana and now Jerry Rice. Who else is going to pop in here?
Exactly. I'm sending a bunch of texts out, after the live stream today. So we put it up on our social media sites. So all you have to do is do a search for Sports Skillet, and it pops up on our social media sites. And what we ask, and it's not a big ask, is that people go in, subscribe, follow, one of our social media sites, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. You want to follow YouTube so that when we go live every Friday, it pops up and you're notified of it. But just like one of our sites, go in, join our league, the Sports Skillet League on Balto, and then we will send you the link to join the Joe Montana League. It's as simple as that, and then you get now to join Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. What could be more fun than that?
Absolutely.
It doesn't get more fun than that. Well, as we do every week, or we try to, we open the history books. We take a trip back in time, and we go back in time, and we have Jeff, the other Jeff.
Yeah, not me, Jeff.
Not you, Jeff, but the other Jeff, who's part of the show. You can hear him on our radio show every Sunday morning at 11 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey, or you can download our app at sportsskilletradio.com and listen to us there. But the other Jeff, my brother Jeff, takes us on a trip back in time. He opens up the history books and lets you know what happened this week in sports history. So let's see what Jeff has come up with for this week in sports history.
Welcome to This Week in Sports History, sponsored by Wildflowers Restaurant. I am Jeff Sellner. Let's dive right into the history books. On August 26th in 1939, the first televised Major League Baseball game was broadcast on WNBC TV. Announcer Red Barber called the doubleheader between the Cincinnati Reds and Brooklyn Dodgers at Ebbets Field. Few people owned televisions back then, only about 400 in the New York area. It wasn't until 1946 that regular network broadcasting caught on in the United States. It took until the mid-1950s for television sets to become commonplace in the American household. The catalyst for this historic television broadcast? The World's Fair, as the TV was one of the fair's prizes, and organizers believed the Dodgers-Reds doubleheader on August 26th was a perfect way to showcase America's grasp of the new technology. The experiment was deemed a success in driving development of television technology, especially for sporting events. The doubleheader was split as each team won a game. On August 27th in 1982, Rickey Henderson, then playing for the Oakland A's, picked up his 119th stolen base of the season, breaking the single-season stolen base record held by Lou Brock, who stole 118 bases in 1974. Henderson would steal another 11 bases before the regular season ended, bringing his total to 130 bases for the season, a record that still stands today. On August 28th in 1951, the Pittsburgh Pirates ended their New York Giants' 16-game winning streak by a score of 2-0 at the Polo Grounds in New York. Sheldon Jones was tagged for the loss, but did not surrender an earned run. On August 29th in 1967, the New York Yankees and Boston Red Sox played a doubleheader. Nothing special about that, right? Well, the Red Sox were contending for a division championship, while the Yankees were in the third of 11 straight seasons in which they would fail to win a pennant. The Red Sox won Game 1 2-1. In the second game, it would take 6 hours and 9 minutes to complete as the two rivals played 20 innings of baseball, with the Yankees winning 4-3. Not many of the 40,314 were left when Horace Clarke singled home John Kennedy at 1:57 a.m. One group had an especially painful experience, as at 1:32 a.m. the game was 19 innings old, and with the bus driver becoming increasingly impatient, Bob Shepard's voice came over the loudspeaker, urging the folks from Mount Kisco to leave immediately. Thus, after being in their seats since 5 p.m., they were deprived of seeing the game's final inning. On August 30th in 1965, Casey Stengel, then managing the New York Mets, announced his retirement from baseball. The 75-year-old had broken his hip in a fall the previous month, and doctors advised him that resuming his duties as manager would take too great a toll on his health. As a manager, after replacing Joe McCarthy, the winningest manager in Major League Baseball history, he recorded 1,149 wins versus 696 losses as manager of the Yankees for 12 seasons, 10 American League pennants, and 7 championships. After a heartbreaking loss in Game 7 of the 1960 World Series of Pittsburgh, the Yankees replaced the 70-year-old with Ralph Hawk, believing Stengel was too old to manage. Stengel replied, "I'll never make the mistake of being 70 again." Also on August 30th in 1905, Ty Cobb made his Major League debut for Detroit. Nicknamed the Georgia Peach, in the first inning of his first game, he doubled. 23 years later, on September 3rd, 1928, Cobb got his 4,191st and final hit, also a double. A Triple Crown winner in 1909, 12-time AL batting champion, 4-time AL RBI leader, 6-time AL stolen base leader, Cobb owns a Major League Baseball best 367 career batting average. Ty Cobb was inducted into the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame in 1936, along with Walter Johnson, the Big Train, Christy Mathewson, Honus Wagner, and Babe Ruth as the first members of the Hall of Fame. On September 1st in 1975, it was a memorable day for New York Mets ace Tom Seaver as he won his 20th game of the season with a 3-0 complete game shutout of the Reds and set a new Major League Baseball record by reaching the 200 strikeout mark for the 8th consecutive season. In 1975, Seaver would win the NL Cy Young Award at the age of 30, winning 22 games with a 2.38 ERA. Thank you for listening to This Week in Sports History, sponsored by Wildflowers Restaurant. I am Jeff Selner.
Have you ever fantasized about playing against a football great? Do you think you have the skills to beat a Hall of Fame quarterback? Well, Sports Skillet is offering a unique opportunity for you. Go up against the legendary Joe Montana. Enter by joining our Pick'em League. Follow us on the Sports Skillet Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and we will send you the link to battle the former 49ers quarterback and receive $1,000 if you come out on top. Remember to tune into the Sports Skillet live stream every Friday afternoon and every Sunday on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey. And check us out on sportsskilletradio.com. Download our app and take us on the go.
Remember the TV show Cheers, where everybody knows your name? Never been there. But every time I walk into Wildflowers Restaurant on Pennington Circle, I feel at home and that I belong. Friday night, I headed over to Wildflowers, and even though it was packed, I easily found a seat at the bar and got cozy with 17 TVs. Baseball, golf, entertainment TV, you name it, including all NFL games. The bartender Dave suggested I order the Buffalo Wing Sampler, and you could tell he was a fervent fan. But reviews on Wildflowers Inn Restaurant Facebook page demanded I tried the garbage truck pizza, and Kelly had just arrived and promised to help me dig in. Then it came. Garbage truck pizza does not live up to its name because it smells amazing and it tastes even better. Freshly sliced peppers and pepperoni, garlic, mushrooms, mozzarella, and meatballs all baked on this incredibly crunchy and warm double crust to hold it all together perfectly. Heaven, especially with one of their 23 beers on tap. I'm a believer. Go to wildflowersinrestaurant.com for more info or just come in. They are conveniently located on the Pennington Circle, right near I-95. I promise you, they will welcome you warmly, feed you well, and perhaps soon even know your name.
And we are back here on the Sports Skillet live stream. You can find us here every Friday afternoon. And a reminder to check us out on Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey and SportsSkilletRadio.com. And check out our social media channels, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, like we just told you. Just do a search for Sports Skillet and we'll pop up. And as we do every week, from USA Today Sports and Fansided.com, we bring in Pat Ragazzo. We want to encourage you to check out his work at MetsMerise.com and the Giants Wire as well. And please give him a follow at Ragazzo Report. Pat, how are you doing this week?
I'm great, Jay. It's another week.
It is. Giants fans should be a little excited right about now. Looks like you've found the successor for Eli Manning.
Yeah, Daniel Jones has looked great this preseason. He has the highest passer rating in the league among not just rookies, among every single quarterback that's played a game this preseason, and he's 25 for 30 out of the gate. And last night he continued to check off all the boxes and even was under some pressure and duress a lot during the game. Took a huge hit when Nate Solder got beat badly by his man on the edge and almost got Jones killed. But Jones came back on the next play and fired a 30-yard strike to Darius Slayton just short of the goal line. He really just continued to show that he can put the ball wherever he wants. He's confident and he's very decisive, and it's all great signs for Jones. Going forward to preseason with only one game left.
So how do you think this affects Eli Manning's stature on the team?
I don't. I think that Eli has played well in limited playing time. Again, only played one series last night. He played a 15-play, 66-yard drive to open up the game for the offense. Eli went 4 for 8, but 2 of those incompletions were drops by Cody Latimer, including what would have been a very nice touchdown pass that Eli zipped into Latimer that hit right off Latimer's chest. That should have been, an easy touchdown. Instead, they settled for 3 points and Aldrich Rosas' 41-yard field goal. Other than that, I think that Eli has looked good behind a new and improved offensive line. He looks like that pitching coach he worked with, who was Al Leiter's son's pitching coach, has paid off. His velocity looks up on his passes. He's definitely got more zip on the ball. He's been firing it in there more, kind of like how he was in his prime. I think that's made a little bit of a difference. He's also been playing without Sterling Shepard and Saquon Barkley in these 3 games, and Evan Ingram made his debut last night, made a nice play on a nice tight end screen. But other than that, I think Eli will be fine. I don't think unless the Giants get off to a poor start, as we discussed a couple weeks ago on here, I don't think that he's going to be replaced. I think that the plan will stay what it is, regardless of what Daniel Jones has done. I think that they're going to have him sit behind Eli at least until the season slips away, or if they're winning games, then Jones will be holding the clipboard for the time being, unless something happens to Eli.
So how many games do you think they would have to lose for Jones to be named the new starting quarterback of the Giants?
I think they would have to get out to like a 2-4, 2-5 start, I'd say. And
okay.
Then, somewhere where possibly the season could still be salvaged. If they're losing because of the quarterback play and the offense and not the defense, which again was on full display last night, that they're going to have their struggles this year, especially in the secondary. They have a very young and new secondary in James Betcher's defense. Not easy learning a new system like that, and there's going to be miscommunications, and we continued to see it last night on the long 30-yard touchdown that Jabril Peppers gave up to the Bengals tight end. This was a clear play where Peppers was lined up on the inside receiver, and rookie Corbin Ballantyne was lined up on the outside receiver, who was the tight end, who caught the touchdown pass. And instead of them, calling a switch where they take Ballantyne stays on the outside man, Peppers came running across from the inside and took a weird angle and tried to cover the tight end, which he had no shot on a vertical. And this is where I kind of get annoyed, because all the beat writers and all the Twitter reaction instantly was, oh, look at Jabril Peppers giving up this long touchdown. He's gonna have a rough go of it. Like, he has a long way to go. But really, what they didn't see, they just saw what happened, and they're talking about what happened. They're not talking about why it happened. And it's the inside defender should not be covering the outside receiver like that.
And who else so far has looked good for you in the preseason from the Giants?
Well, besides Daniel Jones, of course, Darius Slayton played in his first game last night. He hauled in a very nice catch from on a dime drop by Daniel Jones. John Hillman, the rookie running back who I interviewed for Giants Wire a month ago, has looked good. He scored his second touchdown of the preseason last night. And the wide receiver competition is starting to heat up a bit. Everyone was freaking out that Odell had left the Giants and Golden State suspended and Corey Coleman tore his ACL. But at the same time, the Giants are going to have a tough decision when it comes down to what receivers they take, because guys journeyman guys like Britton Golden have been stepping up and making plays. He had a punt return for a touchdown last night and had a couple big catches from Daniel Jones. And Darius Slayton, again, he flashed as to why they spent a draft pick on him, and he's a tremendously talented guy. They got guys like Alonzo Russell, who has showed off tremendous speed and athleticism. And Reggie White Jr. has made enough. He made a couple more nice catches last night. So they all fit in with guys like Benny Fowler and Russell Shepard and Cody Latimer, who made plays for the Giants last year in the second half of the season and have continued to this preseason. So those guys seem like a lock for the roster, but you never know. I mean, you can only take so many receivers. So, and especially with Golden State now suspended for the first 4 games, it does open the door for one of those bottom of the depth chart guys, but they've all been pulling their weight so far.
And we saw this week Baker Mayfield called out Daniel Jones a little bit. Do you think that issue has been totally put to rest?
I do. I think that Baker, kind of just like covered his own tracks by saying that he was misquoted by GQ. I think that he said it maybe was taken out of context a bit, but he should never have been using Daniel Jones in that same context of what they were discussing, of that topic of discussion, just like, of course, there was going to be a way that the interviewers and the media were going to spin it. It was just kind of like just like a careless topic of conversation for Baker, and Baker backtracked on his comments and he apologized to Daniel Jones. So I'd say if he didn't apologize, then the issue, of course, it would still be festering and it wouldn't be put to bed. But Baker settled it by reaching out to Jones and just telling him that that's not what he thinks of him, and he thinks he's a good player from what he's seen so far and what he's heard. I just think that Cleveland was stepping out of line a bit this week. Odell again had another comment that the Giants sent him to Cleveland to die, when really they sent him to a situation where it was perfect for him, joining up with his best friend Jarvis Landry. Baker Mayfield, who had a great rookie year last year, and then the running backs in Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb, and a really good tight end in David Njoku. I think that Odell's in an ideal situation, something that he wanted. Maybe he's not in the city he wanted, saying that he loves LA and he loves the sunshine, and beggars can't be choosers, and that's a very ideal situation. It's not like they sent him to the Buffalo Bills. So on that note, it doesn't really seem like Odell's happy in Cleveland if he keeps talking about the Giants at this rate. And at the same time, Odell's also been sitting out with a hip injury all offseason, and he hasn't even been practicing. So that's also a cause for concern, because Odell's been known to sit out the first couple games seasons with these nagging injuries in training camp. So keep an eye on that.
Oh, yeah. And do you think it might be a blessing in disguise a little bit that the Giants are actually free of Odell Beckham's salary and his injury problems and maybe a little bit of his attitude, and maybe the Giants camp is a little more quiet this year?
Absolutely. The only headlines coming out of coming from the Giants this offseason from an individual player standpoint has been Odell Beckham and Landon Collins talking about them in the media. So, it's a nice fresh change of air, around that atmosphere, not having players, speaking out in the media every other day, as Odell did and Landon Collins did for the last 4 or 5 years or so. So that, it's nice. Guys are just putting their head down and going to work and competing, which is nice. Little nice, change of scenery for once.
Oh, definitely. One of the things I wanted to discuss with you, too, is we just had Spencer Cassidy from Balto, website that we're partnering with this year for Sports Skillet Radio. And he was just on, and I asked him about defenses, who people should draft in their fantasy football league. And he brought up the New York Giants defense.
And what was his reasoning behind that? Because the Giants defense has kind of struggled. You know, they've been up and down this preseason, and they're very young, as we said in the secondary. They've been making some mistakes. Not that I don't think that that's something that can be cleaned up in the film room. It absolutely is. But, you know, you saw it again last night that the secondary, you know, they're allowing way too much separation, and they've kind of been screwing up assignments.
Well, he was saying that they might be draftable this year in a fantasy football league, that they might be able to put up some points for people.
Well, the thing is, they came up with a good amount of interceptions last year, coming from Alec Ogletree, who in a PPR league, Alec Ogletree would have done very well last year for whoever had him with his 5 interceptions, and he had over 100 tackles. On the other hand, I do think that the Giants, the only thing is, can they generate a consistent enough pass rush? I mean, they have gotten to the quarterback in the last 2 games and recorded, I believe, 8 sacks over the last 2 games combined. But at the same time, can they dial up the pressure consistently? That's the only question. You know, they didn't really upgrade it. They brought in Marcus Golden, who's coming off a torn ACL. He had 12.5 sacks a couple of years ago for the Cardinals in James Bettcher's defense. But then, you know, it's really up to like Lorenzo Carter and Dexter Lawrence and B.J. Hill taking the next steps, you know, in the front 7 and creating pressure, which we did see last night at times. Dexter Lawrence created some pressure up the middle, had a nice batted down pass on the first drive of the game, and Tay Davis even, you know, put a big hit on Andy Dalton too. So if James Bettcher can get creative with his pass rush, you know, and if the secondary, you know, can blossom and develop in this system and grow, and you know, get on the same page as each other, then I think that, yeah, then he may be right that they might be a draftable defense this year in fantasy football. The only thing is, I do think that they're going to kind of be slow out of the gate. Right now, that's the Giants' main concern, is their defense.
Gotcha. Switching the page a little bit, Noah Syndergaard had pitched a pretty good game.
Yeah, Syndergaard looked great. He could have gone probably at least 8 innings last night if it wasn't for the rain delay. And I want to talk about that too. That rain delay was a little ridiculous. It was 2 hours. It was an official game. The Mets were up 2-0. It was an official game after 6, and they made them wait for 2 hours when it was still. They took the tarp off the field when it was still raining, and there was no signs of it stopping. And they played for 30 more minutes after taking the tarp off after 11 o'clock when they started the rain delay around 9. And 34 minutes went by, and it was pouring, and the infield was getting shiny, and that's when you know things are really getting torrential, as Gary Cohen said. And you know, the Mets put on 1st and 3rd in the 8th inning, and then you know, guys were slipping and falling. It really was dangerous for the pitchers who were falling off the mound. You know, so they finally called it, and then they made them wait a little longer, and then they finally called the game. So the Mets wound up winning in 8 official innings, 2-0, and they swept the Cleveland Indians. And the Indians Twitter, I don't know if you guys saw, but they tweeted a little shot at the Mets yesterday, apologizing to their own fans, saying that we hear your frustrations, and we just split with a really good team in the Yankees, and that we just lost 2 in a row to a fringe, quote-unquote fringe postseason team. And the Mets did not like that too much, and you know, they broke out the brooms yesterday for the 3rd game and swept them out of New York. So that's the 3rd time actually that Cleveland sports has, you know, gotten out of line, taken a shot at New York, and it just shows not to mess with us.
Oh yeah, that seems to be a budding rivalry that New York is having now. You wouldn't have thought that New York and Cleveland would be rivals, but you know, that rivalry is starting to spark up a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, with that market in Cleveland, they got to find a way to stay relevant. You know?
Exactly. Mets are on a 5-game winning streak as we talk here today, which is something the Phillies have yet to do all season. 1.5 games out of the second wild card spot, 6-4 in their last 10. What do you think the Mets are going to do against Atlanta this weekend?
I mean, it's a big series. The Mets lost 2 out of 3 last week to Atlanta, of course. One of those Astros was a poorly managed game by Mickey Callaway. They probably could have stole another game there. The Braves are injured, though. The Braves have their injuries. They just put Brian McCann on the IL with a knee sprain. Dansby Swanson's been hurt. Austin Riley's hurt, and he's avoiding surgery in his knee, which is luckily for them. But he's out, and the Mets missed Soroka in that series, which is huge. They face off against Max Fried, who's having a really good year, and Dallas Keuchel, who really has been mediocre. I know the Mets and Phillies fans and everyone else were screaming for them to sign Keuchel up until his June date, but he really hasn't been that good with Atlanta. So I think that the Mets, since the Mets are at home, the Mets have the third best home record in the league this year, and they're red hot. They've won 21 of their last 26 games, and I really think that the Mets could realistically probably take 2 out of 3 against Atlanta, especially not going up against their big guns. Of course, Atlanta will have to face Jacob deGrom and Zach Wheeler and Steven Matz, who have all pitched well lately. Wheeler got roughed up against Atlanta, but I think he'll bounce back at home. I'm actually going to Barstool at the Park Saturday night for the Mets-Braves game. I will be there with my friends Frank the Tank, my podcast co-host, and Clem and KFC and the rest of the Barstool guys who are, on that Mets wagon as me and Frank are. Me and Frank are going to be – Frank just started his new series of hot dog reviews for Barstool.com. So me and Frank will be filming our own hot dog review at Citi Fields for that. So keep an eye out on that.
That'll be tremendous. So you're starting out with hot dogs from Citi Field then?
Yes, we are. I haven't decided. I guess it'll be a Nathan's review.
Oh, very cool. We are definitely going to be looking. And you guys had a pretty good podcast this week with Frank.
Yeah, it's always a good podcast with Frank. He brings the energy. He's kind of been igniting this run with the Mets since he told us that he accepts his pizza deliveries through his basement window. The Mets are 21-5. So I'd say Frank kind of sparked this rally in a way. And now with the J.D. Davis song. I don't know if you heard that, the 877 Hits Now, J.D. Davis song as the parody to J.G. Wentworth. This caller called into WFAN, to Boomer and Gio, and sang that song. And then it came to my attention that Frank's been singing this song on our podcast for a couple weeks. And, we've kind of gone back and forth. And KFC from Barstool actually wrote a blog about it yesterday, and we were actually featured. The Allow Me to Be Frank crew was featured in our clip on his blog on Barstool Sports if you want to check that one out too. But so we actually what we have coming up during the week, we'll probably ask this guy, the other guy who sang it on Boomer and Gio, to come on the show, because we kind of got a little bit of a friendly rivalry with him now, because Frank, the guy, went back and transcripted that he had sung the song in May, sent it to his own friend. And Frank actually went back and found March 31st in the Mets' first series against the Nationals, where J.D. Davis, put his name on the map, having a really good series when no one really knew who he was. Frank actually started that song on that date, on March 31st. He went back and found his video blog. So it should be fun. It's all in good fun, and we're gonna have a blast at the ballpark on Saturday night. I'm really excited to get there for Barstool at the Park, and the energy. I was just at Game 3 of the Mets-Nats series, covering it from the press box last Sunday, and although the Mets lost, the energy there from the fans, it feels like a playoff atmosphere right now, and I'm sure it'll be like that on Saturday night against the Braves. So we got a huge one coming up. The Mets just got to keep the ball rolling. They got to take care of their own business. Of course, this wild card race has been tight, and your Phillies have been winning too. So Mets and Phillies are still 2 behind the Cubs and 3 behind the Nationals, but anything can really happen at this point. It's really starting to heat up and really starting to become a lot of fun. It should be a great finish to the season. Last month or so.
Oh, it should be. The Phillies right now are percentage points. What is that? A half a game behind the New York Mets. And see, what you're saying is exactly the reason why I think the Mets are going to finish ahead of the Phillies. The Phillies will finish ahead of the Marlins. But what you're saying, that vibe that the Mets have, that winning atmosphere that the Mets have, that, going to the ballpark and being fun and having that killer instinct and that heart and desire and will to win, that's something I haven't seen out of the Phillies all year. They'll have it for like a game or two here or there. and then it'll go back to being this country club atmosphere with the Phillies, and they'll kick the can down the road and say, we lost today, or we lost 2 out of 3 in this series, and we'll get the team that's coming up next, and we'll win 2 out of 3 the next series. Well, time has run out on the Phillies, in my estimation, and the Mets have all this killer instinct and fun and hashtags and songs and everything, and that's one of the reasons why I think the Mets are going to finish ahead of the Phillies this year.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the difference has been that the Mets are getting contributions from 24 out of 25 guys on their 25-man, with the exception of Aaron Altherr, of course. But they really, when everyone's clicking at the same time like this, they lost Jeff McNeil last week to a hamstring strain, and we thought that was going to be like, the end-all be-all, because he's the Mets' leading hitter, and they've been fine. They've been great since he's been out. And he just started a rehab game last night that got rained out midway, or at least in the first couple innings. So that's a bummer. But, they should have McNeil back in at least a couple days, and I wouldn't even rush him back at this point because they've been getting the slack picked up from guys like Ahmed Rosario is unconscious right now.
Yeah, I wanted to bring him up.
He literally is blossoming and coming into his own. He was ranked the number 1 overall prospect in all of baseball 2 years ago, and he's finally starting to develop. He's still only 23 years old. So he's really, really picked it up. His average is up to 292, and he's a guy who doesn't walk much, but he still is doing damage at the top of that lineup at a leadoff spot. And when McNeil comes back, he was doing the majority of the leadoff batting this year. I think McNeil goes in the 2-hole because you can't displace Rosario right now. He's even picked up his defense. Guys like him and J.D. Davis, who's been unconscious too. He's batting .315 on the year. J.D. Davis and Rosario have been the Mets' 2 best hitters since June. They've both been batting .360, and they really have picked this team up. And even once Jeff McNeil comes back, there's even talks that they may replace Todd Frazier at third base and put McNeil in, because Frazier's been slumping as of recently, even though he's come up with some big hits. So it's just the Mets finally have depth. Joe Panik is on an 8-game hitting streak. He's looked really good, so it's kind of hard to take him out of the lineup right now. And even Juan Lagares has been batting over 300 since he was started in the starting lineup when McNeil got hurt. So, everything's really clicking, on all cylinders. And when stuff like that happens, even we saw Luis Guillorme have a huge pinch hit to RBI double the other day. So when things are going on like that, something special's in the water over there in Queens. And the Mets, luckily, they have the majority of their games left at home. They only have 12 more road games on the season, and if they could ride that wave to the finish line, I think that they may be finishing in a wild card spot. It's just going to be really tough, of course, because the Chicago Cubs are a really good team too. They kind of have mediocre pitching, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. The Cubs haven't been losing though. They just swept the series, I believe, from the San Francisco Giants, so the Mets didn't really gain any ground on them, unfortunately. But the Cubs are coming into Citi Field next week, which is going to be a huge series, I'm sure. It's probably and could even determine who winds up with that second wild card. But the thing is, I think that the difference maker is going to be, of course, the Mets being at home for like 20 of their final 32 games, and the Phillies have a brutal road record.
Oh yeah.
And the Phillies have played about 500 balls since the All-Star break, and the Phillies really don't have the pitching. Their pitching's in shambles. We know their bullpen, and really besides their rotation, besides Aaron Nola and Jason Vargas, their rotation hasn't been very good. And I just don't think that the Phillies or the Cubs will probably have enough in the end, just because the Cubs also have shaky pitching and they walk way too many guys. We've seen it. These Cubs relievers who come over to the Mets, like Justin Wilson and Brad Brock, we see them find success with the Mets and Phil Regan, the Phil Regan effect, because they walk over 5 batters. They walk over 5 batters a game with the Cubs and then come to the Mets and they're not walking guys anymore. So, and even speaking of the Mets bullpen, Darius Familia finished the month of August. Well, the month of August isn't over, but up to this date in the month of August, he has a 1.64 ERA, and he's 2-0. He's been tremendous, and it looks like he's really, refound himself after the Mets, took him out of those high leverage situations and kind of eased him back in. He had a couple IL stints, and I think he finally figured it out with Reagan and his mechanics. And now the hope is that the Mets could get Edwin Diaz, on that same type of role. Diaz had a promising outing against the Royals on Sunday, but he hasn't really pitched since, and, the hope is that he'll be able to come back in, he'll get his confidence back and be able to come back in, have control with that slider, and his fastball, and be able to, get big outs again, because we know Seth Lugo's the closer now. But unfortunately, Mets did suffer a bit of a loss recently Robert Gazelman, who was just finally starting to pitch good again, he is most likely out for the year. They discovered a small lat tear in his back, and I think that's going to be a big blow for the Mets. But regardless, everyone else has been performing. Even they brought Paul Sewald back, and Sewald's struck out, I believe, 5 batters, in his 2 appearances since coming back in this series against the Indians. So, everything's working out right now. But, yeah, again, like I said, it's going to be a fun finish to the season.
It will be. And do you think the opinions are maybe shifting a little bit about Mickey Callaway?
I don't, but at the same time, Callaway's been fine the last week. Other than that blunder in Atlanta, that decision to pull Steven Matz, I think that he's been better. Like, he clearly learned his lesson by pulling Matz, because in Matz's start in this series against the Indians, he was at 90 pitches, I believe, and he was cruising, retired 9 straight, and Mickey let him come back out for the 7th, close to 100 pitches, and Matt's gotten out, but then he, I believe he let 2 runners on, and then Mickey pulled him. So that's what we want to see out of him. So as long as he's learned his lesson, and learned from his mistakes, then I think this team will prosper from it.
That's awesome. So, Pat, once again, we got the big hot dog eating comparison going on over at over with your podcast and everything with Frank Fleming. What's going to be going on at Metsmerized.com and the Giants Wire?
With Metsmerized, we're going to have our work cut out for us with this wild card race, of course, and covering recapping the Mets and Braves series, and covering the Mets and Cubs, with the Cubs coming to town next week with wild card aspirations on the line. As for Giants Wire, we're going to be covering the last game, of course, of the preseason. I wrote a piece on 3 takeaways from the game last night from the Giants, so look for me to be putting something out there with something similar to that this week, covering the game and instant analysis and what's going on, and there's going to be some 53-man roster moves, I'm sure. Teams will be cutting down their rosters in the next week or so with the regular season on the horizon. So definitely keep an eye out on that, and keep an eye out for Allow Me to Be Frank and us talking about our hot dog review that's going to go on Saturday night in Barstow at the Park, and also this little singing showdown between Frank and the WFAN caller. So, we're going to have a busy week. Oh,
it sounds like it. Pat, thank you so much for coming on the show each and every week. We love having you on. Can't wait to talk to you again next Friday afternoon.
Thanks a lot, Jay. Likewise, I'll be looking forward to it.
All right, and I'm looking forward to the battle between the Phillies and the Mets, although I think the Mets have this hands down.
Don't jinx it, Jay. I hope so.
Maybe I could. All right, Pat. We'll talk to you again next Friday afternoon.
All right, great. Take care, Jack. Have a good weekend.
You too. So that is pretty cool. Big hot dog review. I'm going to be paying attention to that.
Now I want hot dogs. I don't know why.
Wait until Sunday, and I have you over the house.
Well, there better be plenty of them.
Oh, there will be. There absolutely will be. Hot dogs, hamburgers, stuff like that.
Just no porch, unfortunately.
Just no deck outside, I mean, we're going to put some chairs out there and everything, and we can sit on the deck. It just won't have the railings up. And
no safety. That's big.
No safety railing on the deck. That's coming on Monday, thanks to the stupid rain that showed up today.
Plenty of rain this week. Oh my.
Yeah. Everything was smooth sailing, going along, and we get into the home stretch, just a couple more things that needed to be done to the deck, and it decides to rain today. Unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. Thunderstorm last night. Oh, my. That was incredible.
It was. Well, I like to talk a little pro wrestling at the end of the show, towards the end of the show. Get into that. I know you're excited for AEW to be starting up. The month of October is getting closer and closer.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely coming. I'm looking forward to that. Can't wait to see what they're going to pull out. See if they are a worthy competitor to the WWE. So... Yeah, I'm 80s. I always refer to them WWF, but the wildlife people
stole that. So. But now this past week the WWE kind of laid the smackdown on AEW, because AEW has been on their pay-per-views taking these veiled little shots at the WWE. Like you would have Cody Rhodes smashing a throne, this big speckled throne that they brought out to the ring, and you would have Cody Rhodes smashing it, and they were taking all these little shots at the WWE. So what happened this past week? The WWE comes out and decides, you know what? We're going to take NXT, one of our featured shows on our network, a show that a lot of people like myself enjoy watching, think that it's probably the best show that the WWE produces on a weekly basis. Just from the standpoint of storylines and in-ring ability of the guys down there and how they wrestle and everything like that. It's really well done. So what does the WWE decide to do this week? They take NXT and they say, we are putting NXT on the USA Network, and we're going live each and every Wednesday night.
Oh, gee.
So why did they choose out of every? Well, they weren't going to choose Monday because they got Raw. They weren't going to choose Tuesday because you got SmackDown there. Friday probably isn't a no-go because people like to do stuff and go out of the house and whatever. So maybe Friday, wouldn't be really good. So, that left Thursday or Wednesday night. They chose Wednesday night, and I believe in my heart of hearts it was a shot fired across the bow of AEW, because that is the night that AEW is going live each and every week. So now AEW's, said, you know what? We're going to take our shots at the WWE, but we're not going to go head-to-head with them. We're going to put our show on Wednesday night when there's no WWE show. Yes, the WWE airs NXT, but it's usually taped in advance, so the results going in, but you still want to see the show. This is going to be a live show. It's going to go. WWE decided, all right, you want to take shots at us? You want to do all this funny business? All right, we're going to take NXT, and we're going to go head-to-head with you and see how you like that, AEW.
Well, you know what they're going to do? They're going to turn around and go, ha, we fooled you in TakeOver Sunday.
I don't know about that.
If they're smart, they would. But
yeah.
We'll see.
We will see. But that's going to be an interesting thing going on between AEW and the WWE coming up in October. We also had this past week, we also had the big reveal of the XFL team names and logos. It is a combination. It's being run by, of course, the WWE, but they're partnering up with Fox Sports. And they're going to have that league going live this coming February. I'm kind of looking forward to that. We tweeted out and put out there the team names and logos on our social media sites. Got some interesting names and logos out there.
Notice no New Jersey, though.
No New Jersey.
We're never going to get our own team.
No Philadelphia either, by the way.
They got enough. Where's New Jersey?
I mean, they could have, they're playing in MetLife Stadium, so you could have named it New Jersey, but no, you named it New York. Same thing as the Giants and Jets do, so, but there was a big reveal yesterday on that. So the XFL is progressing, and you also saw a very slick video package being produced. So they're doing things, I think, the right way this time, because everybody's looking at it, oh, it's a WWE product and it's going to fail. And
just like the first time around.
Just like the first time around. But no, you've got Oliver Luck in there. Andrew Luck's dad is kind of running it. He's the, commissioner, whatever you want to call him, of the XFL. And they're going to have some different rules in place to kind of speed up the game, which I'm looking forward to coming out, seeing exactly what the rule book is going to look like. So that's going to be fun. They're going to have their draft. They also have one person already in the league, Landry Jones, a name people may recognize out there. So he's already signed up for the league. So we're waiting.
Trying to find out who he's going to play for.
And who he's going to play for, and also who he's going to play with. A lot of those names, I think, are going to come after cut-down day from the NFL, because that's where the XFL, I think, is going to get their body of players.
I'd say so, yeah. Ones that couldn't make the rosters or couldn't, even though they're great players, like they couldn't make the team. Well, here's your second chance.
Exactly, and and I think you're going to recognize some of these players that they're not going to have "he hate me" on the back of their jersey or anything like that. That's gone. It's going to be a sport. It's going to be a slick product.
Yeah, no gimmicks.
No gimmicks. I mean, I'm sure there may be you're talking about the W, so they may do a couple little things here and there, but
I hope they don't. Starting out, they should keep it simple. Like, okay, no gimmicks, make the game. They even said we're going to focus on safety too. A lot of streamline it. Make it fast, exciting. Get into the game, not all this other hoopla.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I say gimmicks, I'm talking about like the video packages and
stuff like that. Yeah,
and maybe stuff pre and post game. Maybe like shoot off a cannon or I don't know. How something, pre and post game, something like that, but nothing to really take away from the actual game itself.
Yeah, not like what you do in wrestling where you have storylines on the side in between events. They're not doing that.
No, we have the NFL doing that. We have Odell Beckham doing that. We have Baker Mayfield doing that. We have those guys, taking care of that. So I think it's going to be, and one thing too that I like about the XFL is they've taken their time in doing it. It's not rushed. They've gotten their P's and Q's taken care of. Not like the AAF that went into it full bore, didn't take care of their finances, had checks bouncing all over the place. Just a terrible, not well thought out.
They jumped in the deep end without the fluids.
Yeah. They didn't have the financial backing. They didn't have the broadcast partners totally lined up, the way the XFL apparently does. They had Colin Cowherd announcing the team names yesterday. One of the big Fox Sports Radio hosts, I mean, that's getting your P's and Q's lined up, putting them out there and, building excitement, slick video package and announcing the names. And the whole thing only took about maybe 5 or 10 minutes to do, but you got it on Fox Sports, you got it on ESPN, you got it on your social media accounts. Very well done by the XFL. Yeah, I mean, you can say what you want about the team names, whether you like them, whether you don't like them, whether you care for them or not. Renegades, I thought was kind of but
their logo's cool though.
But the logo's cool.
I mean, I have to admit, all the logos are really cool. They're well thought out. I mean, look at the Tampa Bay Vipers. I mean, the way they do the V, I think, is really cool. Not that I'm going to root for them. I mean, it's Tampa Bay.
Exactly. See, and that's the thing. My brother, when we made the social media post, my brother Jeff came on there and said, I guess you're going to have to root for a New York team or something like that because there's nothing in Philadelphia. And I'm like, well, no, let me back up my rooting interest card for a little bit because I'm going to wait until I see who's playing for what team and how the teams are comprised. And then once I see the who's on what team, then I will announce what team I'm going to be backing initially for the XFL.
I am the same way. Like, I don't want to root for one team. I want to see how well this new league does.
Yes.
You know, is it going to last more than one season like the first iteration of this did? It just bombed.
Yes.
This is new. It's going to get out there. That's probably why they only have, 8 teams now?
Yep. Start small,
Exactly.
which I agree with.
Exactly.
You know, which is why I was, earlier in the show, that's why I was mentioning that to Balto. You know, they're being aggressive in marketing Balto and doing all that they can and bringing in broadcast partners like ourselves and,
exactly. And the strategy that they have, they're waiting until after the Super Bowl. After the NFL is all done, okay, here's this big gap that they can actually fill. 8 teams, 10 games, I guess, whatever the plan is. So you have the off season that they can throw that out there and you have football basically all year round.
Yep.
You know. And even though they are a competitor to the NFL, they won't have any competition against them right away.
Exactly.
They're not, idea.
And that's something that a lot of these leagues that have started out, they're like, I'm going to take down the NFL. Yeah, sure. I'm going to beat them. And they start up the same time. It's like they start up the same time as the NFL or, and that has failed leagues in the past because you're just not right now. You're just not going to beat the monster that is the NFL if you go head to head with them.
That's why I'm afraid for AEW.
Yeah, exactly.
Right up against the WWE, and it's like, what are you doing? I'm like, yeah, you want to start that.
Building an audience, which is why I like what AEW did. We're just going to have a couple of pay-per-views here and there. Build our audience, bring in a couple of well-known performers, Chris Jericho, Dean Ambrose, the Rhodes brothers, people like that, have street cred and have a history to them, but we're not gonna go head to head. Well, the WWE decided, hey, and if they didn't take all these shots at the WWE, probably nothing would have happened. The WWE would have kept. Now, the WWE is getting paid a significant sum for putting NXT on the USA Network, but maybe, just maybe, if AEW hadn't been taking these shots,
that wouldn't have happened.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens, and hopefully their storylines is, keeps the interest of everybody. That's what I'm hoping for.
Exactly.
I mean, wrestling is wrestling.
Yeah,
but it's the storylines that we all follow. So
exactly.
They come up with a good plan. They have solid outline of where they want to go with it, and maybe that'll be enough to challenge the WWE.
I would love to, and it works out well for the wrestlers themselves because now they've got a serious competitor, with the WWE that if we don't like what the WWE is offering, we got New Japan or we've got AEW or we've got Ring of Honor, different federations that they can go to now.
Yeah. And I go back to what I said previously in a previous show when we talked about this. Who says that they can't have a crossover event like the Super Bowl where their champion and their champion go head to head in some big paper? I mean, it's a gold mine right there if they do it right.
Oh, so. I completely agree. And here's something that I saw this past, I forget whether it was I think it was on Monday Night Raw.
Okay.
I want to say, but it could have been on SmackDown. But the WWE, and especially Vince McMahon, when they're airing one of those two shows, does not do anything does not normally make a whole lot of mistakes on camera. They are, when they put something out over their airwaves, it's kind of well thought, it's kind of thought out. Not a whole lot makes it over their airwaves that they don't want to go out, right? Is kind of
control of it, basically.
Yeah. And so I'm watching Monday Night Raw, and what they'll do on occasion is they'll do these reactionary crowd shots when somebody's coming out or somebody's going to the ring or something's happening. They'll do like a quick couple of second shot of somebody in the crowd reacting to what's going on. Makes for a good TV and everything like that, right?
Absolutely.
So I'm watching it, and they do the shot to the crowd, and the shot that they chose, and they could have gone to another camera, right? Plenty of them to go around, but the crowd shot they chose for this particular one was a person reacting, but they were wearing an AEW t-shirt.
Oh, wow.
So I was very curious about that because I'm like, nothing goes out without Vince McMahon wanting it to go out or Triple H wanting it to go out. And, it was long enough. It wasn't just like a boop and gone. It was like a couple of seconds where you saw the person, saw the shirt that the person was wearing, and then, they cut back to the live action again. True. So, to me, I was wondering what message the WWE was showing by airing that person wearing the AEW t-shirt. Were they trying to say that, oh, here's your fan at our event?
I was about to say that.
Was it that, or what message was the WWE trying to send?
Yeah, it's either you're at our event, so ha ha ha, or we're being nice and just letting a little something show. Okay, you want to bring it, but we're going to bring it back.
Exactly. So that was really interesting to me. And of course, we also got to see on SmackDown this time, we got to see the Fiend, Bray Wyatt, show up. And I love the way that they're marketing him. I love the way his new character is appearing whenever he wants to appear, basically. Like, you can't count on him showing up each and every week, and you don't know when he's going to show up.
That's good.
This week we saw him go and attack Jerry the King Lawler.
Oof.
And use the mandible claw to choke out Jerry the King Lawler. At a time when, everybody was waiting for Sasha Banks to come out, and Jerry comes out and he's like, well, I have to talk about the King of the Ring tournament. Understandable, okay. All right, get on with it, Jerry. We want Sasha. And then instead of getting Sasha Banks, we were treated to the Fiend coming out. That is awesomely well done. Jerry Lawler goes back up to the ramp. Place goes dark. We see the light kind of come back on, a little bit of a spotlight. And there's the Fiend standing behind Jerry Lawler. And then he gives Jerry Lawler the mandible claw. So you don't know when he's going to show up, if he's going to show up, when during the show he's going to show up, or who he's going to attack. It could be anybody. It is extremely well done. I love this new Bray Wyatt character. Absolutely love it. The mask is like I was telling you when we were leaving the show. It reminds me of something out of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
That's right, because I wore a shirt, and that reminded you, and that's what we talked about.
And just seeing the mask, and it's just so well done, and the way that they're promoting it, I absolutely love it. I can't say enough good things about it. I also think that we saw Sasha Banks try. The thought was that she was going to respond and answer questions about why she came out and laid a beat down on champion Becky Lynch. She did not do that. She remained aloof on that. She just said, thank you to Michael Cole's question and walked off. Seemed to have a little bit more of her ego is coming out. I like the new Becky Lynch. I like the new Sasha Banks character. what they're doing with how they've revamped her. She's becoming her old Becky Lynch character from back in her NXT days, where her ego came out quite a bit. The one thing they haven't done, and with the crossovers that they do, the wild cards, if that's what you want to refer to them as, but wrestlers can crossover shows whenever they deem necessary. But they haven't put to this point Sasha Banks and her maybe former best friend, the Hugger, up with each other yet. They've kind of kept those two apart. That may be something that they may do for WrestleMania. Who knows? Because right now it looks like Sasha is going after Becky Lynch. Who knows? Maybe she'll go up with Natty. She also attacked Natalya Neidhart, so that feud is upcoming as well. Natty had her arm in a sling, and once again, Sasha Banks attacked her in the locker room. So in the future coming up, there's going to be, in some form or fashion, Natalya going up against Sasha Banks. But it looks like right now we're going to be seeing a lot of Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch. So that'll be a match that is main event worthy. Those two going head to head, going at it. They're going to no doubt put on some really good matches with this new aggressive heel version of Sasha Banks. So that's going to be really cool.
Well, let's wait and see.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it. But again, I see it is a little bit after 2 o'clock. So we've been on the air for a little while. We want to let you know that we want you to join our Sports Skillet Pick'em League. You can find that on Balto. The website is playbalto.com. Just do a search for our league, Sports Skillet Radio. We'll pop up. We want to encourage you to join that. And if you do that, we'll send you the link to join the now Jerry Rice and Joe Montana League. And we'll send you the link to join that, because we want to have you going head to head with those two Hall of Famers. We want to encourage you to follow us on our social media accounts, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. And we will have a great guest from one of the we will have the head football coach from Holy Cross Prep Academy.
Holy cow.
Joining us this Sunday at 11 a.m. on Fox Sports Radio at 920 New Jersey. You can also download our app or go to sportsskilletradio.com. Click on the Listen Now button and you can stream us with that. So again, we're going to have the head football coach from Holy Cross Prep Academy joining us this Sunday morning. Show starts at 11 o'clock, so tune into that. Kelly will be back with us as well on the show, so we're excited to have Kelly back and do the interview with the head football coach from Holy Cross Prep Academy.
It's going to be a full house. All right.
It is going to be awesome this Sunday. I'm telling you, I'm really excited for that. We're also going to be doing our fantasy draft later in the day, having you over, and if your lovely wife can make it, we'd love to have her on.
We're hoping.
Okay, cool. Love to have her as well. But like we discussed earlier in the show, deck unfortunately will not be completed. So I will ask everybody there to just use your imagination as to how awesome it will look once it is completed, because it will be awesome. It will be terrific. But unfortunately, because of the inclement weather today, wasn't able to get it completed in time.
Yeah, couldn't get that Roman fountain in there like you wanted. I know.
No, that's going to have to wait until Monday. We'll just have to marvel at the waterfall for the koi pond.
All it is just the hose, and you're standing there going, "Here it is."
Yeah, exactly. So if you can picture me standing on top of the deck with my hose, that's going to be, the waterfall that Jeff is talking about there, and how pathetic that's going to look when I do that. Yeah. Definitely Holy Cross Prep Academy head football coach is going to be joining us, so you want to tune into that. We're excited to have him on the show with us Sunday morning at 11 o'clock. Again, tune in to Fox Sports Radio 920 The Jersey or sportsskilletradio.com, or just go there and download our app, and you can listen to the show wherever you may be. And again, if you go out and you give a follow, a like, subscribe to our social media accounts, and you join our pick 'em pool, which is going to be fun. It's going to be competitive. We're going to be referencing it during the show each Sunday, and it has helpers there, so you don't have to necessarily be a big time football fan or follow the NFL. It has helpers in there to help you choose which team you want to choose for each particular game. It'll say this many people have chosen this team, so it'll help you along. And who knows, the winner of the Sports Skillet Pick'em League or may just get a prize this year. You never know. And that's why we want you to join our league, and then we send you out the league to play against Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. I mean, couldn't be more fun. We're looking forward to the upcoming NFL season. We want to take you on the ride with Sports Skillet, so go out there, do that, have some fun with us. Thanks, everybody, for joining us this week on the Sports Skillet Radio Show, and we're looking forward to having you on the show, having you with us on the show next Friday. I'm getting my days all mixed up. Next
it's
Friday.
Time to go when you start
when I start doing that. Yep, absolutely. Have a great week, everybody, and we will see you next Friday at around noontime is when we go live. So have a great weekend, everybody. Join us on Sunday morning, 11 a.m., Fox Sports Radio at 920 The Jersey.